And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
It's FB Live. It's a Friday. It's a good one, okay? If you're catching the beginning here, you're not going to want to skip through any of it if you're watching later on. Maybe you can skip through Kratz shimmying, but besides that, you're going to want to get right to biz. Maybe. If you're not into that, then you need to go touch some grass. But here's what we're going to do. No small talk today. There's too much business to handle, and I want to make sure that we spend some solid time on the Metropolitans making a move. So, gentlemen, shall we charge the mound nice and early at 1 o'clock today?
Boom.
He's charging the mound.
The Mets fire Carlos Mendoza. Remember, after last year not making the playoffs and collapsing down the stretch, they gutted basically their entire coaching staff besides Mendy. In the offseason, they did a lot of things. It is not working. Mendy has been let go. Andy Green will take over as interim manager. We're showing you some of the statements from the team and then also from Steve Cohen. They also called it Carlos Mendoza's departure. I mean, he got fired unless I'm missing something there. And Cohen later said in the statement, I'm not going to read the whole thing, no sugarcoating it, this season has been a disappointment and our fans deserve better than what we've delivered. Todd, father, they did trade David Peterson the other day. That doesn't mean they're trading the farm. They've put out there publicly to writers, like, we're not trading everyone yet, but let's be real about where they are in the standings. And maybe they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle like the Phillies did with Don Mattingly taking over for Topper, just like Topper did years back for Girardi. But let's be real here. Where are we at?
They're in some trouble. I mean, let's just keep it real. The biggest thing with them is, honestly, they need leadership. I think that's part of the reason why everything is going down. I thought Mendoza, great guy, everything else. New York, Queens, it's hard, man. Playing there for almost 3 years, it seems like there was always an issue. It seemed like there was always a problem, and there's no way of getting out of it. Whether it's an incident here, or they're struggling, or this guy's doing this, and a lot of it gets blown out of proportion, as we see. A lot of it is very important, as we also see, but they're not winning. They're not clicking. The Cubs came into town and did whatever they wanted to them, and basically away they went, man. It's just not a good scene right now. And, looking at this season, you got Juan Soto in the building and you can't do nothing with it. I talked about it before. You didn't pick up a couple contracts. Edwin Diaz, you got to find a way to bring that guy back. How are you letting Pete Alonso go, one of the best hitters in baseball? Brandon Nimmo, a prolific hitter, bats 270 or higher. Even Jeff McNeil, he had a bad year. I still love Jeff McNeil. He was perfect there. So, maybe I'm biased because I play with those guys, but, to say, oh, we haven't been winning because of these guys, or we need new people in there. These guys have been doing it. They made it to the playoffs. They lost to the Dodgers the year. Yeah, okay, everybody did. But guess what? It just hasn't been working out, man. And I wish Mendoza the best. I like him, man. Good dude. But I guess it was time for a change.
Mendy's the man. I don't care who. You could have had Tony La Russa in his prime. You could have had Charlie Manuel in his prime. This team was not built to have team success, in my opinion. I think they had a lot of hopes. They had a lot of hopes that Jorge Polanco was going to learn a new position, injury or no injury, that Bo Bichette was going to learn another new position, that Luis Robert was going to stay healthy. Too many hopes for a team that has a lot of money and should be a playoff team, which, in my opinion, they faltered at the end of the year last year, but they were still a good team. And then they essentially gutted it along with their pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner. And you say, okay, well, this is what you get.
Yeah, and they get a team that's one of the worst in baseball right now. And we're 50% through the season. Things can change, but you can't be that far back at this point in the season and then start trucking yourself back into contention. It is not easy to execute here. So for the Mets, here's the first question based on today's news. We talked about this team a ton. Does anything actually change here? I mean, you guys know Andy Green too. This has nothing to do with Andy, although tell me about him if you can. What is going to change with the team. The roster construction is not changing tomorrow. So can something be solved? Remember, Kratz, like, you're good for this. Philly's gone through this twice now. In season change, all of a sudden the team takes off. Can the Mets catch any spark? Is there any realness to that for a club like this?
Can the Mets catch a spark? Yes, because they have Francisco Lindor, and they didn't before this. Luis Robert could come back. Again, it's all the same thing I said. It's hopes. Andy Green is a good manager. When he was with the Padres and I had him in spring training, incredible communicator. I think maybe he was a little overmatched with the pace right out of the gate when he first started managing the Padres, but he wasn't managing very good teams. Those were teams that were keeping like 1 or 2 or 3 Rule 5 guys. That just hamstrings you with the roster. So, yes, could the Mets catch fire? Yes, but everybody has to start clicking that is not clicking right now. Bo Bichette has to be the leader in hits like he has been in other years. Devin Williams and Luke Weaver have to lock down the end of the game. Luke Weaver's really turned it around. So, yeah, there's pieces, but it just looks like a disjointed team when it comes to winning a team ball game.
Yeah, it's hard. It's going to be hard for them to kind of get back in the mix of things. I mean, when you look at see how the Phillies did it with Don Mattingly, they got a squad. You know what I mean? Like, those boys have been playing for a long time. They understand that they're going to go through these ebbs and flows and understand that, hey, they might lose 8 out of 10, but they're one home run away from Kyle Schwarber, one cycle away from Harper of getting back into it. As you see, they are clicking right now. So I don't see it. I don't, but baseball gods can play with you a little bit. You never know. I love Andy Green. I haven't seen or talked to him in years, but whenever I did, dude, great conversationist, and he understands the game very well.
Look at the Phillies starting rotation and the Mets starting rotation right now. Anyone that watches the game mildly, look at those two rotations, look at the numbers, look up the stuff, know the names. Tell me.
Okay.
Now, let's do it. Look, we have this, right? Freddie P should rebound a little bit. This is the worst season we've seen from him in a minute, although there have been some changes, right? I actually talked about this morning with you guys. Like, the extension for him used to be elite, top percentile. Now it's more mid-range. I don't know what the story is behind that, but apparently it's hurting the way that his fastball is playing. The fastball Freddie part's gone away a little bit. Nolan McLean has great stuff. Oh my gosh, he's a video game dude. But this is his first full season in the big leagues. He's going to run into some issues. Clay Holmes was their best starter in terms of run prevention, and he got hurt. He's going to be out for a minute. All right, the rest of them, there's a lot of question marks.
Here's my thing.
Phillies rotation. Go ahead, Kratz. You can talk, but just make sure you tell everyone what the difference is between what I just said and then what we're looking at on the screen. Thank you.
Yeah, now we're looking at the Phillies rotation, and you have Sanchez, top 3 pitcher in the game last year, who finally got his ERA above a 2. You have Zach Wheeler. You have Jesus Luzardo. While can be up and down, has sustained success in the big leagues. You got Zach Wheeler. You're able to do all this while Andrew Painter's been pitching poorly. Here's the biggest thing with the rotation. I think Nolan McLean can continue to do well because he's barely just a pitcher. He was hitting more recently than he's been pitching. So he's learning to pitch. I think he's going to be great. I think Freddie's going to have a regression back to his norm, which is going to be successful for the team. The biggest thing has been emblematic is the fact that they had 4 errors by 4 different infielders. That's never going in one game. That's never going to bode well for your rotation. People will be like, well, those are unearned runs. That's why they have, an ERA. I get that, but it's also more pitches you have to throw. When you're not playing good defense, your starting rotation is not going to give you the length, the execution, the consistent success that you really need out of them. Because this team just isn't built to have that run prevention that I felt like this team was that was supposed to be built to have, and kind of broke down last year's team.
Yeah, durability is a big deal too. And for people that have been following the Mets for a while, you probably know in the 2000s, there's been plenty of moments where half the team's just missing, right? Even some of the better names. mean, there were time periods when it was like David Wright, Jose Reyes, Carlos Beltran, right? Those were like the big three, and they're all hurt. It happened. Especially, there were multiple times where it's just like the stars are not on the field. Pete Alonso was the guy who always played. Anyway, let's go back to the manager side. Yeah, he gone. That was a big miss. They really missed the mark on that one. John Harper, who covers the Mets, he's on SNY, heard from a source today that Albert Pujols is in recent weeks letting friends know he'd very much want the Mets manager job if and when they moved on from Mendoza. Pujols managed the Dominican Republic team in the WBC, and he has a very strong relationship with Juan Soto. Is Albert Pujols the answer?
Kratz, I think you have your answer. I don't know. Listen, I want more players coaching. I'm a big proponent of that. I love players coaching. Albert Pujols looks like he knows what he's doing. The World Baseball Classic is different than Major League Baseball for sure. Don't get me wrong. It's the best of the best, but also he had the best of the best he was managing. So he was managing 25 best of the best. Now he'll have a couple. So how does he manage those guys compared to the guy, the 25th guy on the bench? So I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'd be very intrigued and interested to see if that's the route they did. I'd be excited too, honestly, to see if Albert can handle that and get after it. I'm not saying it's the answer, but I'm all for it.
I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen.
I don't know if it's going to.
No. I'm just going to tell you why. There's something specific with the owner of the Mets that everyone should know. He does not like to spend money on someone learning on his dime. That's like one of his things. Now, you could also make a case that some philosophies need to change. Maybe that one needs to change. Maybe some philosophies that the front office have right now with player decision-making need to change, or not even maybe. They definitely need to change. But that part, Kratz, to me actually stands out, right? You've had some inexperience there. You've had some misses, and most of this has to do with roster construction. Let's be real. I don't see them going the route of a new manager. I just don't. I see them going the route of, hey, Alex Cora, how much money does it take you to head over to Queens? Jim Bowden pointing it out this morning. The Mets should now do everything they can to try and land Alex Cora as their next long-term manager starting in 2027. That's from our resident GM.
And then we can wait until the Giants play the Mets again, and guess who comes back into
Devers Bowl. Devers Bowl.
That would be interesting.
That would be great.
A little bow tie to start. How you doing? Welcome back. No, I'm kidding. But yes, that would be interesting. He's a good manager, man. So
much more likely to be the next manager than Pujols. I'm just saying that's from what I know about the man who makes the decisions at the end of the day. He is much more likely to choose someone that's already done it. And there's others too. I think Brandon Hyde has a much better chance of managing the Mets than Albert Pujols.
I think he'd be fine. I think Brandon Hyde would be fine. I've played against him as a manager for a lot of years in the minor leagues, and he's got a fire in his belly too. Like the dude, he won't take any crap. I wouldn't mind seeing him in New York because he's no holds bar and he knows what the heck he's doing, and he's got the red ass every once in a while, and I love every second of that.
Also, Kratz, for you. At one point, do you say, hey, guys, you're not playing well for 2 years now? I'm not worried about bringing in some player's buddy or somebody that he thinks is going to manage him well. Also, just in general, Juan Soto doesn't need much help. He's really good. He does not need much help from anyone, right? It's not like someone's going to come in and be like, oh, I'm motivating Soto. Soto's putting up numbers. He's fine. So my thing is, Kratz, I just want to find someone who, of course, is best for the job. And if anything, I might want to make a statement like, I'm not bringing in your buddies because this ain't working. Okay. So, I mean, I'll give you one example, and I know this is from several years ago, but it's still burning them. And it's the trade that the league uses when GMs don't want to deal away a prospect. Keith Hernandez just smashed it on the broadcast the other day. Crow Armstrong run circles around the team, and they brought in Javi Baez, who is a buddy of some, right, including Lindor, but others too. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they acquired him, but that trade was a bomb. It was a bomb during that season, and it was a bomb long term. And I don't think they're in the business of trying to make sure everyone's buddies are involved now. Also, if you do believe the rumors that were spreading for months about dissension in the clubhouse and you wanted to break that up, the new model ain't working either. Okay. I got news for you. I sit next to AJ Pierzynski every day, and he told me that he played on plenty of teams where guys loved and hated each other all in one ball, and it didn't matter because if they won, they won, and if they lost, they lost.
Game's about winning. The game is not about all your friendships. You develop friendships through seasons where you have anger issues with each other, and you develop friendships through, kumbaya sessions as a team. It's about winning. I don't think Uncle Stevie is going to be hiring somebody who's like, I'd love to learn to manage in the big leagues. Hey, Juan Soto's my friend. Stevie's going to be like, we don't need any more Juan Soto friends. Juan Soto's got 765 million friends that I'm paying him to go be him all the time. Like, to me, if Albert pushed that himself, that, oh yeah, he's close with Juan Soto, which a lot of things when you read them, like people are pushing those things to reporters when they want to become a manager. That just shows me right there. He does not get what it takes to be a manager. He is a superstar. He is a Hall of Famer. And his ability to connect with what Todd said, all 25 other guys and not just Juan Soto, will be the difference in him being a Hall of Fame manager and a 2-year run manager. And I think Carlos Mendoza did an incredible job of connecting with everybody. I think this team's a flawed roster. And I think if you bring in a Hyde, Alex Cora, I don't think David Ross, but guys that can get a little bit of the ass to the guys that need it, it'll kick a team into shape when they need to be kicked into shape, and will coddle them when they need to be coddled.
Yep. And we have more on this. Ken Rosenthal joining us next on FT. Kratz Mint Mobile plans, still just $15 a month.
And you're getting a ton from that $15.
That's right. And we've talked about this for a while. It hasn't changed. It's still all there for you. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data, fast, reliable coverage on the nation's largest 5G network. Oh, and an award-winning care team. Mint Mobile has it all for $15 a month. You can even bring your current phone and your number, choose from 3, 6, or 12-month plans, say goodbye to a monthly bill, ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Hey, from yesterday, Ian Seymour was riding a nice little no-no for the Rays while Junior Caminero hit 3 dingers. Nice performance for the old Rays that nobody's talking about.
Starling Marte needs to not tell Junior Caminero he needs to lift more. I think it was on Tuesday they were playing one of the series. He gave him the old flex a little bit more, a few more push-ups and everything. And well, I guess Junior did a few more. But man, Seymour, the Rays can find some pitching. I would have loved to have seen him go out for one more. Push it to 110 pitches. I know he was at 90, and that's where you're like, okay, but you had a big lead. Maybe he can just throw a few right down the middle and not look for the strikeout. Who knows how far he gets with that no-hitter perfect game, John?
This might be wildly inappropriate. Nah, it's not. I mean, Starling's well-liked, but I'm not kidding. If he had said that to me, and I know Kratz would have done the same thing, I would have been like, well, you were on the Juicy Juice for at least a time period, and I never got to do that, so you're more jacked than me. It's not fair.
Yeah. I saw Starling before the Juicy Juice and after the Juicy Juice. We'll get into it maybe one day about what I heard happened, and it gives my ex-teammate a little bit of credit. But yeah, you know what? Hey, he tested positive, and that's where it's at. But you're right. Junior hit it. That one he hit off the position player. It hit like the D ring or whatever that ring was in the Trop. Poof, that ball was crunched. I don't care if it was lofted in there by a position player.
It's the Inside Scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal, who just dropped a column, I'm told, on the Mets firing Carlos Mendoza. So, Ken, enlighten us. What do you think of this news and how it affects things for this team going forward?
I was not surprised because after the nightcap on Wednesday, the 6-error game, that was a game that essentially screamed fire the manager. And the Mets waited a day, but it was coming. We kind of knew it was coming, but as you see there, what I wrote was the greater culprit is the president of baseball operations, David Stearns. Not exactly a secret, that opinion, and not exactly shared only by me, because basically the entire industry understands that this team is flawed. The roster construction was flawed. It's not that Mendoza was blameless. And when a team plays like it did on Wednesday night, again, it screams fire the manager. But the real question here going forward is going to be, has owner Steve Cohen lost some confidence in Stearns, the guy he hired after basically waiting 2 years before the 2024 season? Remember, Scott, that season was Stearns' first and Mendoza's first, and it went great. The Mets had a surprising run to the NLCS, but after starting last season 45-24, best record in the majors, since then, they've got the fourth worst record in the majors. So clearly, a lot has gone wrong.
All right. Well, they were hot starting the year last year. Do you feel like Stearns overreacted to the collapse at the end of the year in the sense of he changed not only the roster and got rid of some stalwarts on the team that he had to re-sign, but also the coaching staff that also had some of that success during that time before the collapse of the second half?
Well, I'm not sure Stearns acted alone with regard to the coaches. Cohen might have had some input there. In fact, I would guess he did have some input there. And that is his prerogative as owner. He wanted some changes. It was an epic collapse. They got beaten out by a small market team with 83 wins for the final playoff spot, the Cincinnati Reds. So you could understand their frustration. And I even understood at the time their desire to do something different. Their fans kept saying this. We haven't won this with this group of players, which was true, but it's not like they had flopped other than that end of last season. So the one mistake, in my opinion, that will haunt them perhaps is Alonso. Alonso, as I wrote in this column, was a homegrown guy. He was a guy who proved he could succeed in New York and the perfect right-handed complement to Juan Soto. He was also durable, and the players they brought in were not all durable. Polanco, of course. Robert Jr., even more so, and now Simeon's on the IL as well. Bichette, he's been healthy this year, but he's got a history of lower body issues as well. So that, to me, was the question. And from a sheer talent standpoint, when you put the names on paper and you added up all their collective wars, the projections for this team were quite good. If I'm not mistaken, they were projected to be third in WAR in all of baseball, just because of the names on their roster. But that's assuming those guys would be healthy. Many of them weren't, and many of them you could not have expected to be healthy because they had injury histories. So, again, there is a lot that has happened with this team, and now it's Stearns' job to clean it up. And I don't expect them to fire him before the draft and the trade deadline. He's going to get through the deadline. At the end of this season, maybe then Cohen at least takes a look at it. But as I said yesterday on my own show, there's a value to continuity. There's also an issue in the game where, okay, you want to fire someone, and the Mets are having this issue with the manager right now. Who is the replacement? Now, Andy Green is going to be the Mets interim manager, but do we know who their full-time guy going forward, the exact perfect candidate would be? I would suggest we don't know that. And the same would hold true for a president of baseball operations position.
Ken, do you watch football much? Do you know who Jerry Jones is?
I know who Jerry Jones is, but I don't watch football much. I did cover football one time, covered the Cowboys in a Super Bowl.
Okay. So do we have the baseball's version right now with Stevie Cohen in New York. Like, I don't want to have that much to do with it, but I would definitely love this best player and this best player.
I wouldn't go as far as that, Erik.
Okay.
And certainly they've spent a ton of money. Second highest payroll in the game. It's crazy what they've spent in the last few years without much results under Steve Cohen. But Jerry Jones, to me, from what I understand, and I'm sure football fans out there will correct me if I'm wrong, he is more of kind of guy who interferes. And I don't know that Cohen does that very often. Yes, I do believe he wanted some changes at the end of last season, but I don't see him as intrusive as Jerry Jones. But if you're talking about a guy who spends a lot of money who hasn't had success, yes, there is a parallel. And remember, Steve Cohen, when he took over, said he wanted a World Series title within 5 years. It's now year 6, and they're still waiting, and they're not close.
One of the things you said on Fair Territory was the game's not teeming with GM types, kind of what you just said before my last question. Is that because being a GM is hard? Is that because being a GM is a long-term thing? And if he goes and fires Stearns, you essentially just cut the own cord that you started setting up, and Stearns never had a chance to make his 5-year, 6-year plan.
Well, their plans have shifted repeatedly since Stearns and Cohen came together. So I wouldn't say this is a situation where, like a rebuilding team, they're operating on a 5-year plan. They had one plan, they changed, and they started another plan this year. It hasn't worked. We'll see plan number 3 or 4, whatever it's going to be, coming up next. Now, the question you ask, Erik, is a very good one. And I know some people objected in the game yesterday when I wrote that the game's not teeming with GM candidates. I'm sure if I polled people in the game, they go, oh, this guy would be good, that guy would be good. Guess what? There is a lot of homogeneity in this game right now. And a lot of guys who kind of have the same background, the same outlook. And you can understand that because the game has changed. And certainly with the rise of analytics, you need someone with a savviness to that, with the ability not only to understand all that, but to lead an organization. And finding someone to do both those things well is really hard to do. And let's face it, we've seen a couple of former players now become presidents of baseball operations. Chris Young had some real success with the Texas Rangers, won the 2023 World Series. Buster Posey, and we saw it this week when he had to deal with an issue that was a little bit different than the norm, he wilted and did not handle that well. So it's a big job. You're right. And it's not a job that someone can step into in New York City, of all places, and succeed quite easily. It's difficult. And Stearns is finding that. Stearns is a guy who had great success in Milwaukee, had success in his first year with the Mets. And he's a guy who is from New York, has a feel for the market, grew up a Mets fan. It's hard for him. And he seemed to be the guy who had the perfect profile. And I made this point in the column as well. The fact that they've gone through a few people now in that role under Cohen for a variety of reasons, it speaks to Brian Cashman's success as Yankees GM. And I know their fans get crazy with him all the time. Guess what? He's done it for nearly 3 decades, and he's done it at a pretty darn high level. And people should have a greater appreciation for that after seeing all this that has happened with the Mets.
I know there's a lot of things that will surround this decision for the Mets, but their next manager, I'm not going to lead you to your answer because we already discussed this. What type of manager, what type of experience do you feel like is the next best manager for this roster for the Mets moving forward, whether it's Andy Green or somebody else after the season's over?
Well, what usually happens in these circumstances, Erik, they go with the opposite of what they had before. Carlos Mendoza was a longtime coach in the Yankees system, Aaron Boone's bench coach, but he was a first-time manager. So I would expect what Stearns would seek now is experience. Not necessarily the case, but that would be my expectation. Who are the experienced guys out there? Brandon Hyde is one. David Ross is another. Alex Cora is a third, though Alex Cora probably is ticketed for the Philadelphia Phillies if he wants to manage next season, reuniting with Dave Dombrowski. So I am sure Stearns will cast a wider net, and maybe Andy Green, who is a former major league manager with the Padres, ultimately is his guy. But given the nature of the job and the nature of that clubhouse, they should bank on experience. And Mendoza was a guy, because he had worked for the Yankees and he had seen how Aaron Boone handled any number of issues, some of which were unique to New York and many of which weren't. He would have seemed to be kind of like Stearns, a perfect choice, and it didn't work out. So it would seem to me you would at least need more experience in that job, but I can't predict what David Stearns is going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Ken, oh, go ahead, Kratz. Good.
Oh, no. We were just talking about the manager, and I think it's something that if the guys that are out there, the candidates that you were talking about, Cora, and we had talked about Pujols before, is there a fear for successful or not successful managers, experienced managers of coming to New York and accepting this roster in? And the easy answer is, well, there's only 30 of these positions, and if you want to get back into managing, but is there a fear? Because now you're talking about guys whose legacies as good managers could be adopting this flawed roster.
If you're asking me if someone would turn it down that they went after, I doubt it for that reason.
Okay.
Now, one guy I didn't mention, by the way, is Rocco Baldelli, former Twins manager, East Coast guy from New England. And Albert Pujols, because he managed the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic, has managed in winter ball, is not exactly an inexperienced guy given his career in Major League Baseball as well. So he's an interesting name. I don't know that anyone from Hyde to Ross to Baldelli to Pujols, right down the line, would fear the Mets job. If you're confident enough to be a major league manager, you're confident you can succeed anywhere. And I would expect all of those guys feel that way. And Ross has managed in a big market, not New York, but Chicago is not exactly a small place. So I don't see that happening. I would imagine if you have a choice and you're one of these guys, and maybe the other choice is Philadelphia, like it would be for Cora, maybe you prefer Philadelphia, but they've got an aging roster. It's not perfect there either. So, again, to answer the question without being too long winded, I don't know that anyone would turn it down.
Ken, my last one on the Mets, for most people to relate now, other baseball fans, they just want to know if they can pry some of their players away. Do we think that we're getting closer to that point? I mean, you look at it and you're like, sure, they're hoping that they catch lightning and this is the next Don Mattingly situation. They win in 10 in a row, but it's unlikely. I would be very surprised. I'm sure you would be too. So, how much of a litmus test is coming up for the next couple of weeks with Andy Green and company before they go, all right, we got a few pieces to sell. Luke Weaver's having a great year. Let's deal him.
No doubt that is where they are. And yes, they traded David Peterson 2 nights ago to the Cubs, but that was a deal that made sense for them at this time and did not necessarily indicate a full-blown sale. However, if they don't play better, even if they play a little bit better, but it's still not good enough, they're going to have to make some trades. The obvious guys are Freddie Peralta, potential free agent, Brooks Raley, and AJ Minter, 2 left-handed relievers, both potential free agents. If you want to get aggressive with Luke Weaver, who has another year left, you could do that. He's been great. But I would think they intend to compete next year, and you'd probably want Luke Weaver on your team next year. So, yes, Scott, it definitely appears to be heading that way, that they are going to be sellers. They don't have a whole lot to sell, to be perfectly honest. I just listed the main guys. Peralta's been a huge disappointment. And lefty relievers, yes, they're incredibly valuable at the deadline, but they only bring so much.
Well, Ken, we did a lot of business, a lot of firing talk. We're going to finish fun on a Friday. This feels weird. I sit next to AJ half the year, and he's not here, Pierzynski. He's on assignment, on vacation, whatever we want to call it, right? We know where he is because he just visited the Pope, but he's not on our show because he's away. So you did, I would say, like the Lord's work by talking to AJ and letting everyone know what happened. So what do you have for us?
Well, first of all, he let it out what happened. And he was the one who posted on social media that he had visited the Pope and given the Pope the ball that was the final out of Game 1 of the 2005 World Series, a game the Pope attended, was shown on Fox attending, and AJ knew that. And obviously, he had a desire to visit the Pope. He was raised Catholic, AJ was, and it happened. He had some friends who helped arrange it for him, and it was an amazing thing. And I wrote about the meeting. AJ was gracious enough to take my call while in Italy. And, well, frankly, he had to take my call, right? But seriously, it kind of cracks me up. The whole thing cracks me up in so many ways. First of all, it's just cool to see a photo of AJ with the Pope. But the idea that AJ is some goodwill ambassador, spreading his good cheer around the world, meeting the Pope, giving gifts to the Pope, including a signed AJ Pierzynski jersey. I don't know what the people out there think, but I find it rather tickling, to say the least.
Well, you guys work with him too. I mean, Kratz, you're on with him almost every day of your life. Are you tickled?
I definitely am tickled that AJ got to add to his list somebody in a higher status than anybody else that he's ever name dropped about meeting and talking with.
Ken, I'll leave you with this. I felt like it was a cool moment because, sure, not many people get to meet the Pope, and that part is awesome. And I was with AJ right before he was about to leave because I'm in the studio with him, and he's in the office and picks up one of the prized possessions there with the baseball. He's like, I think I should give this to him. He didn't really ask me, but he didn't tell me, and I'm the only person there. So I was like, yeah, I don't know what it's worth, and I don't even care. It's almost like giving it to a museum or Cooperstown or whatever. So it was just a cool moment where what's something really special that I possess that would mean more to him. So it was cool. Like for AJ,
cool.
He was
it's
like, how
also
do
really
I,
cool.
Impress him?
It's also really cool, Scott, and it has been from the moment the Pope was elected, the fact that he's a White Sox fan. It's cool. It's awesome. And obviously, when AJ introduced himself, the Pope said, I know who you are. You don't have to introduce yourself. And he was really touched that AJ gave him the ball. And the whole story is just great. And with the White Sox being good, that makes it all the better. And as I wrote, when AJ walked away, he was kind of ending the meeting, or leaving the meeting, I should say. He wasn't ending it. When he left the meeting, he said to the Pope, hey, the White Sox are in first place. And the Pope said, I know, man. I'm following this. It was great.
Yeah, this is a real fan here. This is really cool. Well, thanks for putting the story together. Obviously, everyone can catch it on line on The Athletic. Ken, have a good weekend. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. And you can catch Ken again on Monday, of course, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday morning. Thursdays are 12:30 Eastern, and we know we're close to a month away from the trade deadline. We know what the questions are going to look like. Ken is ready for those questions. Bring them on next week. Be right back. Hey, Todd Father.
Hey now, what's going down?
Live TV.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Back
yeah.
ready to rock.
Doing a quick
That's
check.
that's my Todd.
Yeah,
Don't say that.
that's all we needed. And it's not an inside joke for everyone that's watching and listening right now. We just wanted to make sure Todd's mic was crisp because he
Mic
ate the
check,
last
1,
one
2.
and then
Yeah,
burped, and
I
then
did.
we had to get him a new one.
The painting was a gift, Todd. The painting was a gift.
And let's talk about games this weekend. Okay, so for 2 minutes, let's go over this. SeatGeek hooking you up with seats better than anyone else can. Over 35 million downloads. It is the #1 rated ticketing app. And, I mean, guys, Dodgers-Padres this weekend with Walker Buehler matching up in the series opener. For me, let's be real. I know you have East Coast bias, and
Sure
you love
do.
your New York, New Jersey
No
area.
doubt. No doubt.
Padres-Dodgers has real heat to it when
Big
they match up.
implications. Love it.
You would want that ticket.
It's getting better and better each time too, because nobody in the West Coast right now that wants to get over the hump of the Dodgers is the Padres, and they had a big opportunity a couple years ago, couldn't find a way to finish it, and they've been trying their butt off to get there. So every win against them is big for the Padres for sure.
Yeah, Kratz, any other series we should keep an eye on this weekend that someone should grab a ticket to?
I mean, the NL Central race for who's going to be the second best team in the NL Central. Skeens versus Abbott, I think. Is it Abbott or Lodolo? Abbott's having a good year. Yeah, it was Abbott. Lodolo just got hit by a comebacker. But anytime Skeens is on the mound, man, like you got to be there. I don't care that he's having a Skeens quote unquote down year. I need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
That's a good one. So, what else? Diamondbacks Rays. I know it won't get the most attention, but if you're in the Tampa Bay area, what? Why are you wavering?
I don't know. Like, are they fun? Are they a fun watch? Are the Diamondbacks a fun watch when
Yes.
Zach Allen's on the mound? When the Rays, is that team? Do you want to watch
Yes.
the Rays
For a
play
baseball
the
nerd,
Diamondbacks?
yes. Okay, I'll tell you why. First of all, and I've been a fan for years now. Diamondbacks offense is fun. Like they create, and it's got a mix. It's got contact, it's got speed, it's got some pop. So, yeah, if you're in that area in the summertime down in Tampa, Nick Martinez against Zach Allen tonight. SeatGeek is the spot. Territory 10 for 10% off MLB tickets. That's SeatGeek. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. Have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. At MGM Locks, we all lost yesterday. I'm cold right now. Like you know how sometimes you can feel when you're hot and you can feel when you're cold.
Oh,
I had like a ridiculous hot streak 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I felt when I lost it. You know, like you look at a schedule of games, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't really like any of these matchups, and they're like, heat
It's
check.
hard.
You chuck a 3 and you whiff bad,
Yeah.
right? Like you rim it.
It's
and
hard.
then you backboard it, and then you airball it, and then all of a sudden I've lost a couple in a row. Kratz had a ladder going, and that now fell. So
yeah. Well, at least you're beating Kratz by $9, so that's fine.
I am. I got
Ahmed
9
Rosario. Dang,
Oh,
Ahmed.
I have a half of a New York City cocktail on Kratz right now.
Would you like a shot of lemon water?
And they'd go, that's $22, sir. Ah, damn it. I only have 9. All right, so what are you doing?
I'm going to ride that wave, the Mets, with all the Mets going on. I think the Phillies are going to come out and boat race the Mets. I'm going to go with the run line -1 and a hook. I'm going by feel here. I'm not going by anything else. I can care less who's pitching. I am going Philadelphia Phillies -1.5 is at +105, so 315 to win 300. I've never bet more for the Phillies in my life.
Guess what?
This year for
You're
some
going to be
reason.
happy about this.
What is it?
Guess who's pitching for the Phillies?
Is it Wheeler?
It's Wheeler.
All right. I feel even better. But it's at +105. That's where like you kind of get
well,
nervous
that's the
about
run
whole
line.
thing.
That's
Yeah,
why. But I'm with you. I
still.
would tell the hell out of that one because Zach Wheeler used to be a Met, and I always believe in the facing your former team thing. I know he's done it plenty, Kratz, but it's always nice to beat down the team that didn't pay enough to keep you. Not that he was going to stay anyway, but what do you have for us?
Didn't even pay for his World Series tickets either, and the Mets are throwing Terrence Brockington Demarius, like they have the TBD going. I'm going with an old faithful. Max Myers pitching really well this year. I think probably one of the more underrated pitchers in the National League, and he's going up against McGreevy with the Cardinals. Cardinals are sliding a little bit. I think they're like 4 of their last 10 they've lost. And the Marlins are playing a little bit better. I think they've won 7 of their last 10. So I'm going money line. It's at -110, and I'm putting a 50 down. We're starting to ladder back up again.
Parlay Pap is back.
Oh, Parlay.
FT Nation, what's up? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you on this beautiful Friday. I got a 2-game parlay, 2-legger today. It's basically we're going to take the Twins versus the worst team in baseball. And we're going to take Zach Wheeler, the Philadelphia Phillies, against the New York Mets. New York Mets looks like it might be a bullpen night, so we're going to go with Zach Wheeler and the Phillies. We're going to put 200 on it, get +155, and get some weekend cheese. Good luck.
You too, Pap. Good luck. I'll go Rangers, Blue Jays over 8.5 runs. I've been a big over-under guy this year. It's at -110, so I'll go 220 to win 200 just to try and shock the system a little bit, see if I can get myself going again after the tough loss yesterday. We were all kind of betting on the Red Sox off no sleep to fall big to Schlittler, but the Yankees defense let me down. So this time around, Rangers, for all the talk about their offense and not doing enough, they've been beating up left-handed pitching the past month and change. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy into that against Patrick Corbin. Jays are scoring. I think the Jays offense is starting to find it a little bit. Vladdy's going to figure it out. And then Okamoto is one of the most underrated players in the sport too. I'm a big fan. Obviously, it's his first year. Evaldi is in a slump. Last 6 starts, everyone is at least 3 earned runs or more and some homers mixed in there, quite a few. So that's the whole deal for you. There are your locks. Good luck this evening.
Winner.
Get some chicken dinner. BetMGM, swing for the fences, swing for a shot daily to win. Play that game within the BetMGM app. And then also, as we've been talking about, there's all kinds of World Cup action within that app that you can get involved in with promos. So give those a look. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When my puppy Bella has something wrong, I'm not going to go around Googling what to do.
Yeah, Kratz, let's have a better plan. Today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. It offers customizable accident and illness plans that can fit your budget, your lifestyle, and even your pet's particular quirks. Because let's be honest, vet bills can add up fast. ASPCA Pet Health Insurance has been around for almost 30 years and has covered over 1 million pets. And when it's time to submit a claim, it's easy. Just use their app and receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account so you can get back to focusing on what really matters, your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/foul. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/foul. Again, that's aspcapetinsurance.com/foul. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independent American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance. Shohei Ohtani starting DH NL. So what happens is the top vote getter on the NL side, top vote getter on the AL side, automatically starting in the All-Star game.
Wow.
That's not the story. Ernie Clement starting second baseman for the American League in the All-Star game because Blue Jays fans showed up and voted over and over again. And guess what? I don't even care what the numbers are this year. Ernie Clement was ridiculous in October, and this is the way to honor him. It's not like he's been bad this year. Has he been postseason Ernie Clement? No, I'm sorry. He's not hitting 400. He's only hitting, 294. But Kratz, I'm all for this.
100%. I get it. You want the hottest second baseman from the first half of the season maybe to get it. What he did ignited the Blue Jays, and he was this close to winning MVP of the World Series. Obviously, we know who won the games, how close he came. He would have been the hero, and he would have been forever the hero. And I love that they're kind of rewarding him, or fans are rewarding him for what he did in the postseason with an All-Star bid.
He was so good.
He was.
He was so fun to watch. He was unconscious.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And had it all.
He's on fire.
Right? He was on fire. And he was what everyone dreams of, every front office dreams of. In the playoffs, you want contact and slug. You want both, right? Sometimes people say, oh, well, you need contact. No, you need both. And Ernie Clement was able to give you both. He wasn't popping tons of homers, but he was giving you enough pop, enough extra base hit, double power, and then knocks when needed. Hey, let's talk Redlegs for a moment because we're about to chat with Trent Rosecrans, one of the great hosts of Riverfront Territory and also follows the team for The Athletic. Anyone have a thought? He's going to join us in about a minute. Anyone have a thought on the Reds? To me, this is about where I expected. If you told me Ellie De La Cruz missed several weeks, Hunter Green's not pitching yet, I'd be like, okay, this team's a hot streak away from getting involved. Are they the best constructed team out there, Kratz? No. I'd say the biggest disappointment is probably the bullpen, just because they focused so much on arm talent and they haven't been able to figure out the bullpen. Now, again, you'd had the injury to Pecan, that hurts, but the bullpen not performing over the past month and a half has probably been the most glaring issue for me.
The depth of the bullpen. They just didn't add enough depth, in my opinion. And as soon as Pagan goes down, everybody slides into roles that they're maybe a little overmatched for.
Yeah.
And then they take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, and then they just can't find a way to get over the hump against the Brew Crew. So it's a mishmash, man. It's tough. It's a hard year. There's still a long ways to go, but again, every team has some sort of problem. This one, they need to get going here in a little bit here to get rocking. But just seems like they're still trying to figure out pitching for sure. That's the one thing in my opinion. Hunter
Green's going to return and give them half a season. 37-42 team in the Reds. I'm not saying he's saving the season. I'm just saying that certainly doesn't hurt. I love Chase Burns.
He's filthy.
That's a fun watch. I love
Great slider.
Well, let's talk to C. Trent about it. He's ready for us. So C. Trent Rosecrans is here. C. Trent, great to have you on. Thank you for the time, and thank you for all you do on Riverfront Territory. Loving the show and your coverage in The Athletic. So what are you writing about and talking about lately with the Reds for, I'm sure, a fan base that's disappointed in the current standings?
Yeah, and actually I talked with Nick Kroll about that today, or it published today. It's up on The Athletic right now, but I talked to him Wednesday, and, he's disappointed too. This is a team that is not living up to their expectations. Now, I think a lot of the times when you're talking about these teams that have the more limited resources, or the front office is given more limited resources from ownership, is maybe the best way to put it. It's the depth. If you lose one guy, that's where it all starts coming down. And they've lost important guys in both in the lineup, the rotation, and the bullpen. Actually, their top guy in each of those, right? Coming into the season, you would still say Hunter Green was your top guy out of the rotation. Elly De La Cruz is your top position player. Emilio Pagan is your closer, so he's your top player there. So they didn't have any of those 3 guys in June. They had one of them they had 2 of them in March and April, and they played really well. They were missing 2 in May. So it is always going to be the lack of depth, right? That is the issue. And like Kratz was saying, it's like, Emilio Pagan goes down, everybody's got to step up. And that's where you've seen Luis May and Zach Maxwell, these guys who probably just quite aren't ready, having to take some big steps. Now, sometimes that turns into a Chase Petty that you're like, ooh, this guy coming out of the bullpen is pretty good. I think we still want him as a starter long term, but maybe he gets his feet wet and he helps us along the line here in the bullpen. So I quite honestly, like, I listened to the preamble and you guys are all right. I guess that's because AJ isn't here. So that helps. Because they are kind of getting these guys back. And if you can get to the tournament, I don't know that any team's going to feel comfortable facing Chase Burns and Hunter Green in the first 2 games of a series, if it can line up that way. Now, that's a lot of ifs, and that's putting a lot of eggs in the basket, but I don't know. They're at a crossroads, and I think by the All-Star break, they should have a pretty good idea of where they can stand.
I agree totally. There's a couple names that I'm thinking about here. Spencer Steer, Matty McClain. These 2 guys supposed to be the dudes that are carrying this team as they're moving forward. I know Elly De La Cruz is injured, Brian Hayes, just to name a few guys, but where have they been, man? These guys, I watch them against the Yankees, and it's just like they just seem a little bit lost right now. Have you talked to those guys? Have you talked to the management about it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think there's the problem is, like, those are guys they believe in so much, but they aren't getting it done. And you're wondering where it is. They bring up Edwin Arroyo, and actually when Matt McClain, if you look at what Matt McClain did while he was playing shortstop, he was playing better. He was more on track. The Matt McClain that we thought that he was before the shoulder injury. Spencer Steer is a guy that it's almost hard to see him look, because he never really looks bad. He just doesn't get the result. And when he's getting results, it's kind of quiet. And when he's not getting results, it's kind of quiet. But he should be a complementary player. And you were hoping that you have that middle of the lineup, the Eugenio Suarez, Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz to carry you. And they haven't been able to do that. Sal Stewart did it for a month. JJ Bleday did it for a month. And then they're searching again for someone to do that for any period of time.
What's the identity of this team? Because they started to be like this pitching mecca, pitching guru, and it obviously hasn't gone well. And I don't think that's all on Hunter Green not being around. There were some other dudes that really did well, but what's this identity?
I think it is, they hope it is pitching, and that if you get Hunter Green around, and you look at the parallels, Kratz, between Chase Burns and Hunter Green. These are guys who are known for their just triple-digit fastballs, right? But both of them, that slider is probably their better pitch. And for Hunter Green, it was finding that third pitch, and I think Chase is getting there. And it's not that third pitch isn't about dominating more. It's about getting from the 5 innings to 7. And that's what Hunter's splitter was able to do. And that's what the Chase Burns hopes his changeup will be able to do. But if you can get Chase Burns to take that same trajectory that Hunter Green did at similar ages, I think your identity is those two guys, and then some complementary guys. Lodolo was finally almost looking like Lodolo till he gets hit in the arm. And he's just not quite been where they wanted to yet. Andrew Abbott is getting to be that steady guy. I mean, honestly, it could be a point where they have to send Rhett Lauder down, and he's coming around. And I think that is what they want their identity to be. But a rotation is a fragile thing. You take it, it's a circle, right? And if you take one part of the circle out, then it's going to be, it's not going to go around smoothly. And I think that's kind of where they've been so far this season.
See, Trent, I want to hit the lineup one more time here. The number that I saw,
there's plenty
runners in scoring position, see, Trent, it is worse than their batting average. I don't understand how that is possible. What do you see on a night in and night out basis? Do you see a change or no change in their at-bats when there's runners in scoring position is the biggest point of the game?
No, because they're bad either way. It's by, the overall numbers aren't that much different. The batting average is a little lower. The on-base percentage is higher, and the slugging is higher. So, they're not a good hitting team. So it doesn't matter who's on base, and they're not getting enough guys on base for it to matter. If you don't hit very well, you better get a lot of guys on base to score runs, and they're not doing that either. So it's both not hitting when players are in scoring position, and it's really more about not hitting overall. No matter what split you want to put on it. If you want to put it on rainy days or phases of the moon, they're all going to turn out bad.
Sal Stewart's a rookie. Is this a great environment for Sal Stewart?
To restart it, Kratz. We didn't hear you for a sec.
Oh, I was just going to say Sal Stewart's a rookie. Is this a good environment for him to be learning in around a offense that is struggling? I'm not saying you send him down. I'm saying, does the struggles of the entire lineup stunt his growth a little bit in the sense of him being the peak player that they think he could be one day?
I mean, I think it is suboptimal for him to be struggling and everybody else to be struggling, because you'd prefer to have his struggles not highlighted, because that's who you're counting on. And he's learning as a rookie does. The league's learning him. He's making adjustments. And I think he's a guy who knows how to make adjustments even at this young age, and I'm not worried about him and his development that way. I just think it's more noticeable when otherwise everybody's talking about Ellie De La Cruz, good or bad, and their eyes have to go somewhere. They weren't on Ellie De La Cruz. They weren't on Eugenio Suarez, who was brought in to be a little more factor in the lineup than he has been. But I think we all, certainly here in Cincinnati, we've seen Gino enough. And I think everybody knows Gino knows that he can look really bad one day, and then he can go on 2 weeks where he is the greatest player on the face of the earth. And I think the Reds are just kind of waiting on, hoping that one of those comes, because when Gino gets hot, he can get just like thermonuclear.
Yeah, that's 100% true. My question to you now, with the trade deadline looming, what do you see the Reds doing? I mean, do you see them going out and getting a couple guys, or do you see maybe letting go of a couple guys? I don't know. I'm like in between here. I'm not sure what you think they should be doing.
Well, I think you have to be closer to 6 weeks from now to I think you got to take this to fruition. And I think they're actually in a decent space for that, because with that, what they can do is they don't have, they're not going to trade Ellie De La Cruz, right? That's the one that's changing. They're not going to trade Chase Burns or Hunter Green. Those are just not going to happen. Their trade pieces are more of those rentals. And that's kind of good, honestly, going into a CBA where you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But also you can straddle the line up until the end, because everybody here knows that at the deadline, there are going to be 3 teams that are just saying, we have to improve our bullpen. Okay, Brock Burke might be it. Okay, we didn't want to give this up. Or we need just a 5th starter. We need a guy who's going to go out every 5 days. Okay, yep, he's not there. We'll take Brady Singer. Or you can hold on to those guys and they're complementary, and it doesn't blow up your season if you don't have them. So I think there's a lot of that. The only guy that I would question that is maybe more of a long-term question mark would be JJ Bleday. And you've got to really believe in your internal scouting of what you see, because this is the one guy who has control, longer-term control. He has the talent that he is. He has the talent that was there. He's a number 4 pick. So if another team believes that he can sustain what he has done so far this year, maybe you look at it. But then this is not a team that has really developed any outfielders over the last couple of years. You have to say, we're going to need outfielders in the next couple of years, because you usually play with 3.
Yeah. Right? How many? 3?
3.
Got it. Okay. Still 3. Yes.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
That's why they pay you the big bucks. Didn't we have a few times where they did the shift and they put 4 out there for who was it, Gallo?
Yeah, a couple different guys.
Okay.
Bird, yeah, Jake Bird,
Yeah.
not Jake Bird, Greg Bird.
But you can't do that anymore, can you?
No, you
Got
can't.
to have 4 guys on the dirt.
Yeah.
Got to be out of the
that.
grass.
Yeah, I don't miss that. I'm good with that. See, Trent, you're the man. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you, and we will catch you down the road.
Sounds good, fellas.
Appreciate you. And most importantly, for anyone watching this, you want to hear more on the Reds? Riverfront Territory. Please subscribe to it. You know why you're enjoying this minute? Because we're happy, Kratz. We're happy because we're wearing Mack Weldon.
Yes, I'm 6'5", and nobody can give me tall clothing, but Mack Weldon allows me to have it. So I don't really have to care about how I look, and I still look good because I don't put a lot of time into what I do to pick out my clothes. Mack Weldon takes care of it for me.
Classic, always in style, made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. Summer gets sweaty, don't let unnecessary sweat spots emerge. Mack Weldon's Air Knit X fabric helps you out. Their lightest fabric is fused with nylon mesh for maximum airflow. Skip the midday wardrobe changes. The barely there feel also keeps you feeling more dry and fresh. Don't sweat the heat this summer. Feel as effortlessly cool as you look with Mack Weldon. Go to mackweldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code FOUL. That's MackWeldon.com, code FOUL. Hey, we're back. Just looking at some matchups for the weekend and also backtracking for a moment. Yankees, Red Sox has already started. Anything we should know besides the Yankees just getting by, doing fine without Mr. Judge, and the Red Sox did crack them yesterday, including Cam Schlittler, but overall they are not playing good ball.
No, I mean, listen, before the Reds came into town, they were doing good. You know, they lost 2 out of 3, and then Now they're losing to a Red Sox team. It was one big inning. That's basically what it was the fifth inning. Big error by Rosario. Ball dropped in front of Cam Schlittler, which should have been caught. A blooper to left, and that's baseball at the end of the day. And then Caballero had an easy out at home on a sac fly, was off target, and a big 3-run homer by Caleb Durbin. I mean, listen, that's all it took. They were up 2-0, and they need better pieces in the bullpen. I think that's the biggest thing they need to do come trade deadline, and they just got to find a way to get some guys healthy too. So it's going to be a struggle, ebbs and flows. I say it all the time. I hate to keep beating that drum, but they're 2 games up right now.
On the Rays in the division.
Yeah,
Can I complain for 30 seconds to you? Or 5-second question to get your answer. Can Caballero just play shortstop every day?
I would.
What are we doing? Just play shortstop every day. He's your best shortstop defender, and he's earned everyday PT.
He hit a home run yesterday too.
Off season, you've got someone else in mind that's even more, whatever. But right now, he's clear-cut your best shortstop.
Yeah.
Period.
No, I
play him there and let the rest, because defense matters. And I know what's his name's hurt or sick, McMahon or whatever, right? But shortstop, Caballero, done. Thank you.
Go learn the outfield, Volpe.
Hey, look at us. FT on Snapchat. If you're a Snapchatter, you youngsters out there, we are here, okay? We're on Snap. Look out for us.
Let me get you Snap.
Yeah.
Let me get you Snap.
Kratz. I mean, you've got a whole team, a whole high school team that you coach, and I'm sure there's a lot of that. I always see this at like the airport. You'll see like constant this and then it's Snap.
My niece does it. Like, we're by the pool, and I'm like, "What are you doing? And why are you making that face? Take that back."
It's this. Make sure we stay on the 2 shot here, but it's these pictures right here. They send the half picture, and it's like my kids are like, I'm like, "Why did you do that? Why did you just do that? Why did you send a picture mostly of the ceiling or mostly of the wall?" And they're like, "Just showing people where we're at." Like, sorry about it. And I'm like, I kind of dig it. I don't necessarily dig the fact that I don't get a text message back from my kids, but you know what? if I snapped them, but I'm over 45 years old, so I don't have Snap, but I'm about to because FT's on it, so I'm definitely getting Snap. So if you see me out, like a lot of people are seeing me out at these baseball tournaments, let me get you Snap.
One of the best flexes in FT history is Erik Kratz talking to a team of 15, 16-year-olds saying, yeah, I'm more viral than all of you, especially on TikTok. One of my goals in life, I like to set goals, right, is to do the same thing with Snap and have Kratz go to the team next year and be like, I'm cooler than all of you. I'm much more popular on Snap, and I've got a lot flowing there. So anyway, if you'd like to help out Mr. Kratz be cooler than the rest of the team, the state champs, join us on Snap. That's it. Cool. Just want to be on there. Another place that some people requested, and now we will meet you there. And we will come back and talk about the Phillies crumbling the Nats bullpen.
Ooh,
Have you seen any evidence of tipping outside of results, which aren't good?
No, I have not done the deep dive to see what we've got going on. I mean, to be honest with you, you have to have all the things that they have, whether it's slow motion cameras and all these things, whether it's a glove tilt, whether it's a flare, whether it's a hand movement from your glove in your hand and stuff like that. So these are real things, and they are also things that can eat at you and can kind of, beat you up a little bit when you're out there pitching, because you're concentrating on not tipping and instead of throwing the pitch where you need to and do those things. So I would have to do a deep dive of every angle, because you have guys that in teams that tip them from their third and first base coach if they see, like, there's so many little turns, just like curveball, fastball. There's so many little things that you can see from multiple different angles that obviously if they've mentioned that it's happening, then they they personally saw something and found something, and if they've seen it, then the other teams already have it. There's really no other way to say it. So that's something we concentrated on every time. I remember, when I was coming up and when I was doing everything, every bullpen you would be in there watching, every pregame you'd be there watching, every game you'd be in there watching as a starting pitcher. Kyle was one of the best at it, when it came to knowing his own teammates, but also knowing the other team and locking it in for guys. So that's what you do as a starting pitcher when you're not playing. You try to figure out if your guys are tipping and make sure they don't, and then make sure that if the other team has a tip, you find it.
That was good. I like that clip from
There's a lot.
Lance Lynn.
There's a lot as a pitcher. And once they find out, that's, if I'm a pitcher, it'd be on my mind the whole time, bro. I'd probably bring back the waving the arms like they did back in the 20s and 30s. But I would hate to be the one about, hey, dog, you're tipping, you're doing this. And it's like that. It's another thing to think about. It's hard. It's hard.
It's got to be.
I think tipping's sometimes a little overrated. Like, oh, he was definitely tipping. I'm like, dude gave up 3 hits in 6 innings. I don't think he was tipping. Maybe his strikeouts were down, but that's okay. Like everybody's afraid of tips. Like let's let the hitters let us know if you're tipping.
You give me 60% right, I'll take it all day. And
Ooh.
I'm not going to be mad at the guy that told me that.
What about 55?
Okay.
Yeah,
Depends on who it is.
What's your line?
Are you 50-50?
50-50.
Give me 10%.
Yeah. I like to test things like how low?
50
Early.
50-50.
Todd, you would agree? Early in the count, I'm taking a 50-50 shot at something if you tell me it's there.
Braves fans, watch out. The Phillies are coming after
Hey, now.
your bullpen. Not yours, the Nats bullpen, to be exact, as they just absolutely plowed through it. But they're only 4 games back of Atlanta, and this is just one of those timing things, Kratz, where all of a sudden the Braves are on a 4-game losing streak. The Phillies just swept up the Nats, and they did it in such a fashion, right? That's got to give you confidence. Every win is just a win. Every loss is just a loss. But can you gain anything from just continuously pouncing on a bullpen late with those comebacks? Or do you look over at the statistics for the Nats bullpen and say, well, this is going to be a little different than facing Raisel Iglesias or Robert Suarez with Atlanta?
Oh, for sure. It's a bad bullpen. But what it does give you is confidence that when you're down, you're still in it. Because when you're on a team that's down 5-3, 6-4, and you look in the dugout and everyone's like, we're cooked. 8th, 9th inning guys are coming in. So they're gaining confidence from that. But hitters, I don't think necessarily are like, okay, we can't do that against everybody. They understand they're still facing big leaguers with the Nats. Us as outsiders say, like it was the Nats. Why are the Phillies still struggling against Foster Griffin, Cade Cavalli? Who else did they struggle? Why is that lineup struggle against deep starting pitching?
Hey.
Because they're still big leaguers.
Wait. Foster Griffin's pitching well this year. Cade Cavalli's got really good stuff. Excuse me.
Okay. I'm saying if you're the Phillies lineup and you're saying this offense has turned it around because they scored, 30 runs in 3 games, tell me why they aren't getting to the starters, why they're behind in every one of these games. Is my evaluation of if this is a World Series team or a playoff team.
I just don't appreciate Foster Griffin catching strays like that. I'm sorry, I don't. Every single outing this month is 1 run. Every single outing this month.
What did Foster do to you?
Yeah, exactly. But I get what you're saying. Why can't they crack the beginning of the game? Also, the real question mark for the Phillies is, hey, after 3 or 4 guys tops, right? 4 tops, where is everyone else right now?
That I disagree with. That I take your disagreement and I bring you my disagreement. Do you know who is the highest slugging percentage with runners in scoring position in baseball? It's not one of the top 4 guys that you're mentioning in the Phillies lineup. It's Bryson Stott.
Oh.
No, it's Bryson Stott. Highest slugging percentage with runners in scoring position. They find ways to manufacture runs. Yes. But how can this lineup, we're talking about a lineup that is going to be the make or break of this Phillies team, because the starting rotation in the playoffs, when I'm talking about the playoffs and how far they make a run, this team has to hit. Last year, I think they hit really well against the Dodgers starting rotation, which ended up dominating the rest of the playoffs. It was the bullpen that faltered for them. The bullpen's a little, sometimes, they need two guys to step up behind Johan Duran, but you have to say as a lineup, we are a veteran lineup. How do we get to the starting pitching, whoever it is out there, whether it's Paul Skeens, whether it's Jacob Mizorowski? I get it. They're both Cy Young candidates, and you're not really going to get to those guys. But on a consistent basis, this lineup's not getting to the starter. And when they start doing that and they continue to beat up the bullpens, now I'm starting to believe in this lineup being the lineup that's going to carry them to the World Series.
I've said it from before, like, this team is never out of it. I love the way they're playing. Don Mattingly's got to be really happy and excited about what they're doing. Kyle Schwarber's just hitting homers like he does best. Harper's coming along here, getting exciting times. The crowd's getting back into it. They are right where they need to be, and they're not worried. And I think the only thing stopping them right now is the All-Star break. So for them, they're going to keep pushing it, and they're going to understand they're never out of a game because of who they have that can play, and they're clicking right now. That's a sign of a fierce team that you do not want to play right now. I don't care if it's 13-8. They give up 8 runs. They're still winning games. And guess what? They're going against the Mets, who are struggling right now. So could be another 2-3 wins for sure.
Yeah, they might catch the Braves by next week. Forget the All-Star break. So here's the pressing question for both of you. Braves or Phillies regular season, Braves or Phillies postseason. So looking now and weighing that the Phillies are 4 games back, do you think they catch them and end up on top on the regular season standings? And then also, just in general, when you're looking at roster complexion, because we know the playoffs is different, which team do you like better to go deeper in a postseason run?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I still think the Phillies do.
Yeah?
I do. I don't know. I love Chris Sale. I love everything they do over there. But I can't get it out of my head that the Phillies aren't going to win this division. I think they'd have a really clear-cut shot, 4 games back or not. I can go over every single name. It doesn't matter. They're playing well right now. So until they show me otherwise, and I just think they're going to just keep going from here on out and inch their way up. They could go down 6 again, but they'll be back down 2, then up 4, and then eventually they'll take it over, in my opinion.
Your question was, who do you like better in the playoffs?
No, both.
Like
regular season, give me both.
Okay.
Regular
I still
season,
think the
which
Braves
team
hold
win?
it. I still think the Braves hold it. The Phillies are still 4 back, and it took just a hot stretch. And the Braves, this was their first down stretch. 4 games is a lot. 4 games is a lot unless you're talking about 4 games against the Nats, who are a worse team. You're talking about the Braves, who I think have some issues that they need to figure out. I think, maybe that magic dust may have worn off with Elder for this year. We'll see. I think the Phillies have a better team to win in the postseason. And obviously that's yet to be seen, and we'll see where they get there. If they have to play in a short wild card series, that can change a huge complexion. Winning the division is first and foremost on their minds, but I don't think they catch the Braves.
Offense, which offense do you like better?
I still like the Phillies.
Really?
I like them. I know what they can do. Kratz understands what they can do.
I think their offense is the Braves' offense is deeper, though. No, don't you think it's a tougher lineup to navigate top to bottom, or am I wrong there? I feel like the Braves are putting up more runs. I'm not saying the Braves
are bad here. I don't want people thinking that at all.
I know.
Right.
I just know the Phillies have they've overcome a lot of stuff during these last couple of years, and I don't see them faltering once the year comes to an end.
Even without Acuna, I think the Braves lineup is a better lineup. I'll be honest. Just because there's a, if you do player by player comparison,
yeah,
that's not, that's always fun to do, but that doesn't really show you the complexity of a lineup. I just think that right now the Phillies are not putting together or haven't been putting together enough team at bats. Do I think the ceiling is higher for the Phillies lineup? Yeah, sure. But I think the Braves lineup on a consistent basis without Austin Riley doing what he's doing. The Phillies could get a boost from Alec Boehm, like, getting his 100 RBIs. Like he's been getting hot lately. So I get it that there's guys that are getting hot. I feel like top to bottom, the Braves have a more balanced lineup.
All right.
It's crazy.
Good argument.
Yeah, good debate. It's crazy if the Nats even had a mid-range bullpen this year, they might make the playoffs. I mean, I know we have a whole second half to go. Things can change, but if they had a mid-tier bullpen, right? Basically, it's like look at their blown saves and chop it in half and then see how many more games they would have won. Even if you don't chop it in half, right? Even if it's a little less than that, give me like hey, let's cut 30% from that number. I mean, they're on pace to have the most blown saves of all time.
Yeah.
So if you take a little bit off that number, where are we at? Like, they're not in a bad spot even right now, but give them an extra, 6 wins in the first half of the season. And if you give them 6 wins, they're basically almost neck and neck with the Phillies right now.
Changes everything for sure.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about when people say blown saves, they're not just blowing it in the 9th inning. You can get a blown save earlier in the game for people who don't know that. So it's a full bullpen epidemic that they have going on. Yes, their lineup's awesome. And yes, this team, they put up runs. And when you put up runs, eventually, and maybe this is the time, maybe this is the series that swings the Nats season to the bad, eventually the lineup is just exhausted. Like, we just put up 8 runs. You blew it. We were losing 6-5. Now we're winning 8-6. And you're like, we did all we can do. Whack, whack, whack. Crap, we lost that game. How did that happen? It drains on you.
That it does. For sure.
Yeah.
And the Nats bought 3 trajects. Okay? And if you don't have a traject in your system right now, if you're a low market team and you didn't spend $500,000 for the traject system, because I think they have 2 down at the complex and they have 1 in the big league team with the big league team now. I think there's a direct correlation to guys having success with that.
And you don't want to look back on the year at the NSA all the time. Man, we could have been in the playoffs or we could have won the division. And next thing you know, you're like, those 6 to 8 games we probably should have won and we would have been contention. So as you brought it up, those are games that could hurt the Nationals not making the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're in rebuild mode. That's what they're still in. Yeah, they traded away.
It does happen,
Yeah, they traded away Mackenzie Gore. They were talking about CJ Abrams in the offseason. They didn't go after big bullpen arms because they didn't expect to be good yet.
Yeah.
And you got to give credit to the whole crew there, right? The youngsters improving, the coaching staff there as well. Butera's done a nice job. Taboni at the top of the front office has done a nice job. I mean, it's a surprising division, right?
Yeah.
You didn't expect the Nats to be where they're at.
Or the Mets.
I even if you were on the low end on the Mets 15 back right now in the division already. That's heavy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The Mets in the National League and the Red Sox in the American League. Sorry. Like, that is crazy what both of those teams haven't done this year.
Agreed.
And they both don't have the same managers that started the year, right? Remember, Kratz, we did that segment? Oh, it's hard to see any managers being let go. And I'm like, dude, don't you worry. We're not even at the All-Star break, and we've had 3 changes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to re-rack that conversation because I think all 3 of those teams came up that, if they do bad, they would definitely be on the hot seat, but we didn't see them doing bad. Here we are.
Yeah. Other spots around baseball right now. National League Central. Cubby's been up and down for you. Brewers running away right now.
Brew Crew.
Pirates coming back down to earth a little bit.
Well, I knew that was. I shouldn't say I knew, but That's what usually happens.
It is.
You know, and they're not playing well when Skeens is pitching too. So that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, listen, it's that almost midway point. It is midway. What do we got?
Midway,
Is it
yep.
Every team this week is playing their 81st game. So
okay. So
we're midweek. Yep.
where is that second life going to come through? What team is all of a sudden like, oh, we forgot about that team. We forgot about this team. Or where the heck did they go? So for me, it starts after this week. Here we go. It's time to step up again. And, you know, you got another half left. Where's your second win? So who's going to do that? Is The Miz going to be as dominant? Is Cam Schlittler going to be as dominant? So there's some really cool storylines that can pop up here in the second half of the year.
What about the
I think that's-
Padres? Oh, go ahead, Kratz.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I think that's where the Pirates may not collapse like they did other times because they've got veteran guys in there. They have a little more experience. Like you bring in an O'Hearn, you bring in a Brandon Lau, and you say, okay, like these are the guys that they're going to have to lean on in this second half when normally it's like, wow, we did so good the first half, and then we're right here, and we're just slowly going down. I think that's where the Pirates – they're going to lean on those guys, and they have to be able to make a run. They're not that far behind the Cubs. I don't think they're catching the Brewers.
And I have a little secret for you because you know how I hate run differential. Pirates are plus 27. 2 games better than them. The Padres -5. Padres are a better team. Why? They have a better bullpen. And run differential doesn't really know how to deal with that. It's too basic of a stat. So the Padres just swept the Braves, by the way, and you look at that team like, where's the offense? Well, sometimes you don't need the offense. You just need a run or two. And 42 and 37. Plus Machado had a much better week. All right, let's take a break. Bruce Meyer from the MLB Players Association joining us next.
My toil is, do they get the bat so that they can lengthen out their lineup or be more fortified? Or do they get the bullpen piece that is going to hand the baseball to Juan Duran? And I have been up at night thinking about this on the daily. What would Dave Dombrowski do if I had one move to make?
WWDDD.
And I think I would do the bullpen piece.
Would you really? Interesting.
I think I would do the bullpen piece because at the end of the day, you hope, you never know, they've gone cold. You hope that they get enough hot guys at the right time offensively, and then you got to shut down the game. I think about this a lot. The Phillies lost games in the last few years by not being able to get important outs late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can get them and throw up zeros and they can get another lockdown guy, maybe it's a Aroldis Chapman. We've talked about him before. Maybe it's somebody like that. But I'm thinking about those big-ass arms that can bring you, and there they are, the bullpen pieces.
So,
Todd, you are absolutely brilliant.
And honestly, I just
Whitlock? Is it Aroldis Chapman? Is it Pete Fairbanks? Probably not. He's not.
He's not having a good year.
He's not doing well. But the guy, Rico Garcia, great names. These are great. I mean, Sanzatella, I just don't know. I can't trust him because he's never really done it when it's really counted.
Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman's my guy.
That's
the move.
I would love that idea. And you've been talking about that for a couple months. And that's a move you make to win the World Series. They would have to score some runs, and this offense would really have to continue to come around. But I mean, you're right. The last 3 years, really, they have blown games in that bullpen.
Thank you.
It's been an understated, under-talked about flaw in the last 3 Octobers.
MLBPA Interim Executive Director Bruce Meyer with us. He leads the union, joining us live on FT right now. Bruce, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm disappointed AJ's not here.
We're not.
When I came on your show, the first time, he started out by busting my you-know-whats about appearing nervous. So I was looking to give it back to him, but there'll be time for that in the future. I understand he's with the Pope.
He's busy with the Pope. That is exactly
Yeah.
right. And yes, there will be time in the future, and you can say whatever you want about him when he's not here, which is always great. So let's get into
Good.
biz a little bit here. Proposals being exchanged left and right with MLB and the Players Association. I'll start here with you, Bruce. I mean, the public sentiment is, oh, MLB's pushing a salary cap here. So can other things actually get accomplished? Because we're seeing all of these other details coming out right now. Or does that part need to be addressed, or obviously for your side, I'm sure, taken down to really get some work done?
There are other things we can make proposals on. Both sides can make proposals on. We'll keep meeting. We made some proposals yesterday, which you probably saw, relating to things like gambling and other things. And we'll be making proposals in the coming days and weeks on a number of things. So there are a lot of other things to talk about, but in terms of the core economic issues, it's very hard when we're in two completely different universes. That's really the where we are at the moment.
My question to you is, the proposal that MLB just came up with, is that going to put more or less money in the players' pockets? There's been some kind of confusion about the whole thing.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And I agree. It's maybe not entirely clear, some of the statements that the commissioner has made and the league has made. Their proposal would result in overall way less money going to players. Putting aside all the other things about a salary cap that we don't like, that it basically takes away the ability of players to structure their contracts or have full guarantees and all those other things. Just in terms of math, the proposal that the owners have made, were their proposals in place for this year, players would have made over $500 million less than they would make now. Stated differently, their proposed share of revenues, you have to look at how they define it and what they deduct off the top and what they count against player share. If under their definitions, we already make in excess of 55% of the revenue. So when they say we'll give you 50, it's actually a massive reduction. That's the same in their amateur proposals. They're proposing hundreds of millions of dollars less in amateur signing bonuses, both domestic and international entry. I think it's 400 million in year one, billions of dollars over time. So again, in addition to all of the other problems with their proposals, and there are many, just as a matter of math, they're actually proposing not only players giving up fundamental rights, but a massive pay cut for players.
You said the languages are completely different that we're talking about in these with the two sides. How can we get on the same page as far as like what players want and also what fans want and also what the owners want, and create that same language within the context of what you were just talking about?
I think there are some common interests, or there should be some common interests. We both have an interest in seeing that the sport continues to grow. We both have an interest in seeing that fans have a good experience and are happy. We both have an interest in seeing that the game doesn't get shut down. Hopefully, those common interests, at the end of the day, take precedence. But they've put something on the table that they know the last time they put it on the table led to a massive work stoppage. I mean, they've chosen to put something on the table that they know players have fought against for decades, and it's actually worse than that. They've actually put together a proposal that's like a Frankenstein monster of the worst elements of all the other systems, and actually then even made them worse. So they know what they're doing, and at the end of the day, if they do a lockout, that's their choice to do that. So we're going to bargain in good faith, as we always do. We're going to listen to and analyze all their proposals. But these are choices that Dave made to make these kind of extreme radical proposals. And having said that, we've made proposals, as you know, that we believe are designed to help players at all levels, and that we also think are in the best interests of the game and the fans. Their proposals for things like the salary cap, they say, well, we're just listening to fans, but that's not true. I mean, they're trying to increase their profits and their franchise values. Threatening lockouts isn't in the interest of fans, and telling teams that, well, you can't sign the guys that you think in your judgment are going to help the team because of a salary cap, that's not in the interest of fans. Having every fan focusing on a possible shutdown because of your proposals, as opposed to celebrating the game, is not in the interest of fans. We have the All-Star game coming up. Again, it should be a celebration of the game. That's what players are focused on. And instead, because of the league's PR and their proposals, everybody's going to be talking about other things other than the players and the great game we have. So we made proposals also that we think do reflect a common interest. We made proposals to allow the league to share more revenues, to actually give the lower revenue teams, more in revenue sharing. We think there are win-wins there. We think that addresses, some of the concerns they've raised. But again, they've responded with a whole series of proposals that would effectively, completely turn back the clock on decades of player rights, require players to take pay cuts, hurt the game in other ways by not allowing players to start their careers as early as they currently can. So, look, right now we're very far apart, but it's early, and we're going to keep meeting, and at some point we'll have a deal. But right now we are where we are.
You bring up fans a lot, and I think that they're getting tricked just a little bit here talking about parity. I mean, you see how good the White Sox team is doing compared to the Mets, who have all this money, have the highest payroll. The Brewers are still dominating, and the Red Sox aren't doing well. So can you just enlighten us a little bit about, maybe the fans are getting tricked here. They want everything equal, but these lower level teams are absolutely doing what they do best, and they're winning ball games now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I always point out that the Brewers are literally the smallest market. Under our CBA, we have market score rankings. The Brewers are 30th out of 30, and they had the best record in baseball last year, and they're doing great again this year. Tampa is successful. So the notion that the lower revenue teams or the small market teams can't compete, the problem is that a lot of those owners choose not to compete. A lot of those owners are not doing everything they can to put the best team on the field every day and try for every win. And the fans know this. I mean, the fans, I often say the league is saying, hey, we're just listening to fans, but they're not listening to the fans all around baseball who are literally chanting and holding up signs that they want their owners to sell the team because they're not trying to compete. That part, the league apparently is not listening to. So from our standpoint, every team has the ability to compete. And even under the current system, as you probably know, the lower revenue teams make massive amounts of money in subsidies from other teams like the Dodgers and other teams. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars they get in revenue sharing, in luxury tax proceeds, in central revenues. And then they'll go out and tell the public, oh, we can't afford to compete. Well, we actually see a lot of the financials, and the league requires us to keep it confidential. And the league is not volunteering to show those books to the fans. But when a team says to their fans, we can't afford it, very often it's just not true. Every team in the league can afford to be competitive. It's really an excuse. And that's one of the reasons why they want the salary cap so badly, because the salary cap gives teams the ultimate excuse not to compete. I'd like to sign this player, but gee, my hands are tied by the salary cap. I've referred to it as like an owner protection plan. It's anti-competitive. It protects them from having to compete, and that's why at the end of the day they want it. In addition to increasing their profits, so we made proposals that we think will incentivize competition. We proposed something called a competitive integrity tax, which is really a reflection of the competitive balance tax, which penalizes teams for spending. This would actually penalize teams for not spending. We've made proposals to require teams that get revenue sharing money to actually have, more requirements to have to spend it to make the team better, which is what revenue sharing is supposed to be for. So again, we've made a lot of proposals that we think are in the interests of everybody, fans, players, and the game, to actually have a system that incentivizes teams to win and doesn't reward teams who are not trying to win.
What do you see in those financials? I know you're obligated to not discuss the financials, but what are things that you can tell us that we don't see as fans, or that the owners hide from fans, that I have seen as an ex-player when I was in the PA?
I'd say there are a few things. I mean, the smaller market teams or the lower revenue teams in general are the most profitable teams in baseball. The most profitable, right? And again, we have a system now of revenue sharing, which really doesn't make sense, which allows teams to get all these subsidies from the other teams and from Major League Baseball, and not have to spend it to make the team better for the fans. So, that's a big thing. Again, I don't think fans know how much each team gets in those subsidies, central revenues, revenue sharing payments, and luxury tax proceeds. We've actually proposed in our last round of proposals, we proposed to make it clear that teams should disclose those things to fans, how much they get in revenue sharing, how much they get in luxury tax proceeds, which are hundreds of millions of dollars that goes to the lower revenue teams. So I think, if fans saw how much in the current system those teams actually get for the purpose of trying to help them compete, even though they don't all use it for that, I think that would be very, very eye-opening. And again, our proposals would actually allow them to receive even more, but subject them to stricter requirements to actually have to use the money for the intended purpose, which is to put a better team on the field. I'd say, I'm sorry, Erik, I'm sorry, there's one other thing, which is, all the stuff around the ballparks. Now, the Battery in Atlanta, because they're sort of semi-public, a lot of information comes out about how much profit that they make. It's not complete information, but I think, again, a lot of teams are all trying to replicate, the Battery and generating more and more revenues from around the ballpark. So that's another thing that's not obvious or transparent to the public. Franchise values, we haven't talked about that. I mean, that's where they end up making most of their money. I mean, that's generally public, although not the exact details. But, that's another thing that when you hear a team say, well, we don't really make a lot of money, they always leave out the massive appreciation in franchise values. You see San Diego, obviously, a small market that decided it was going to go out and compete and turn the team around, both on the field and in terms of, financial profitability, and was rewarded with this massive increase in franchise values.
Talking about making more money, I'm a big guy on talking big market, small market. I can't stand it. At the end of the day, like, listen, doesn't MLB want Dodgers and Yankees to be in the World Series? Don't they make more money off of that? I mean, listen, you don't want Ohtani playing, for Kansas City or Judge going to Minnesota. Like, doesn't that help them make more money?
I think, Rob has actually said that when the Dodgers and the Yankees were in the World Series, he made some statements to that effect. But again, we believe that every team should have the ability to compete, and we believe they do. One of the things that I noticed, I mean, the owners, they're out there telling the fans, "Oh, you have no hope," which I've said this before. I think it's just extraordinary. I mean, they should be promoting the game instead of telling fans our product that we're selling to you is broken. That's just appalling. But in fact, you see the biggest attendance increases over this CBA are in the smaller market teams. 8 out of the 10 biggest increases in attendance are among the lower revenue teams. So those fans don't seem to think it's not worth showing up to the ballpark, notwithstanding the fact that the owners and the commissioner's office are trying to tell them, don't you know you have no hope? Athletic did a poll recently asking fans to the extent to which they're optimistic about their teams. Widespread optimism, including big markets, small markets. The league seems like they would almost rather, fans stay away and be negative about their teams. It's just a very, very strange way to promote the game. So yeah, I mean, look, you could say economically it's better for this team to be in the World Series, or better for that team. And then that may or may not be true, but we believe baseball already has better competitive balance than any of the salary cap sports. And again, we've made proposals that we think will further enhance that.
Hey, one thing that was just thrown out there was the prop bet discussion. And Bruce, just being real with you, I really like prop bets. I roll with that all the time. So I'm curious, was that something that was expressed to you as a big concern from players? I know that players have had, issues with threats and all of that, but also if somebody loses a regular bet with a team, they're going to be pissed at that player too. So just curious, because it definitely affects money and affects some fans, interest in the game.
We have other people who are focusing on this area, but in general, I would say yes. As you know, I mean, players are more and more the target of threats and harassment based on gambling. It's not all based on prop bets, but we think and the players generally feel that increases the I would say, the frustration level of fans. I mean, you're right. If you lose a game, you're going to be upset. If you bet on a game and the team loses, they're going to be upset. But if you bet on a strike and the pitcher throws a ball, I mean, that's going to be directed entirely at that player as opposed to the team. And so we think, it's again in the interest of our players, and I do think the players generally feel this way, that was not an option. Yeah, I mean, to the extent gambling increases interest in the sport generally, that's a good thing. But everything is a balance, and that's one area where we think we can make the situation better for players who are increasingly the target of those kind of threats and harassment.
Bruce, two items over the last couple of weeks that piqued my interest that were revealed in some of this back and forth. One, I think, affects everyone, especially fans. Blackouts. To me, it read as if accept some of this stuff and then we'll get rid of blackouts. And of course, I'm going to give the fan perspective here. Wait, so we can get rid of this, but we just don't want to unless someone gets their way. So that's one. And the second one that I felt with this is I have a lot of friends and have covered a lot of players that come from Latin American markets. And it sounded like there was actually a really interesting plan in place to work more with places like the Dominican Republic on limiting some of the chaos that goes down there with young kids and the trainers and all of that. And I'm like, again, wait, can't we already be working harder on that? So curious for your thoughts on both of those matters that really hit home for me. I know we talk so much about the big stuff, but this is big too, that I feel like sometimes gets swept under the rug.
So in terms of blackouts, look, we have an interest, and we have hopefully a common interest with the league in giving all our fans the opportunity to watch every game they can. That's just, fundamental in terms of servicing our fans and increasing the popularity of sport. The fact of the matter is we, the players and the Players Association, have no control over that. I know the league came out with a suggestion that, well, somehow trying to shift the blame to the players. Like if we would only agree to a salary cap, they can get rid of blackouts. We have no seat at the table in terms of TV negotiations. Blackouts ultimately emanate from territorial restrictions that the league puts on, that the clubs put on each other. So, we have no direct control over that. The notion that they can't fix it without a salary cap, frankly, is absurd. To the extent they're saying, well, we could fix it if we were able to share our media revenues. Even if that's true, and I'm not sure it is, our proposal would allow them. The proposal we made a few weeks ago would allow them to share, I think it's around 90% or more of their media revenues. So they can do that without a salary cap. I think it's just a very sort of obvious PR strategy to come out and say somehow this is the players' fault. as somehow this has something to do with, the existence or non-existence of a salary cap. And that's just not true. In terms of the international system, so, complicated issue. They just made a set of proposals which were absolutely horrendous, I have to say, just to be blunt, like a lot of their proposals. I think they were roundly seen that way by the entire community, including apparently by people on their side. Um, sure, there are a lot of things going on in those countries, the DR, that we don't like to see. I will say that the cause of those problems at pace is the clubs. I mean, the clubs have created those issues, and now they're saying, "Oh, here's the only way we can fix it." Um, and what they proposed, we believe, is just dramatically negative for the international players. I mean, putting aside the existence or non-existence of a draft itself, I mean, they've proposed, increasing the age at which an international player, a Latino player, can start, with really no protection for that player or no support, for what that player is going to do from 17 to 18. They also proposed in their proposal a couple of weeks ago to effectively eliminate an entire year of international signings. They proposed to reduce the number of players who get picked. They proposed to reduce the amount of money a player who doesn't get drafted can get. Just an absolute nightmare on multiple levels. Not good for players in any respect. We haven't yet made a proposal on international entry or domestic entry. We will do that. Last time, as you know, we at some point at the end, we actually did make a proposal for the first time that would have included a form of international draft. It had other features like protections against a drop in signings for particular countries, other protections for players and joint things to combat corruption. The league wasn't interested in any of those things, and also the league's proposal at the end of the day was really discriminatory financially towards the Latino players, to a point where we weren't able to make an agreement. So we'll be making proposals. We think there are ways other than a draft to address some of those issues, but at the end of the day, we're not going to agree to anything that's going to screw those players or any other players, and that's, in our view, what the league has proposed.
What is the PA's answer to payroll disparity? Because I feel like that's what fans and the MLB PR system has brainwashed fans for. What is the PA's answer to that payroll disparity in the game right now?
There's payroll disparity. There's always been payroll disparity. They were complaining about the Yankees, in the early 2000s. You can find quotes from a lot of the same people, some of the same owners. Oh my God, what are we going to do? The Yankees, nobody's ever going to be able to beat them, and we need a salary cap. I mean, that was 25 years ago. The Yankees have won, one World Series since 2009, I think. The Mets, I think the second biggest payroll. I think I said this on your show last time. I grew up a Met fan. Now I don't root for any particular team, but I watch the Mets every night. And sadly, they're not doing very well, and they haven't won a World Series in 40 years. So, just to say there's payroll disparity doesn't tell you anything about competitive balance. The other thing about payroll disparity is that it can be a self-fulfilling thing. If the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Miami Marlins decide we're not going to spend, we're not going to run a healthy payroll, we're going to pocket the revenue sharing money we get, then you know what? That increases payroll disparity. So part of the payroll disparity is actually self-fulfilling from the teams that don't want to spend. There was a poll, again, there was an athletic poll just, I think a week ago. And again, this, when the league says we're listening to fans, they're very selective in what they listen to. But literally there's a question, who do you believe is primarily responsible for the sports wide spending disparity? And 2/3 of the fans said the owners who spend too little. Only 80% said something other than the players who stand in the way of a salary cap. So again, payroll disparity, and we also have disagreements with the way the league measures it, and how they come out and measure it. But look, baseball is unique. Baseball, one of the beauties of baseball is there are a lot of different ways to construct a team. There are a lot of ways to win. Teams like the Dodgers are good not just because they can sign free agents, but because they develop players, because of the way they scout players. The lower revenue teams actually have built-in advantages in terms of the entry system. So there are a lot of things to it. It's very simplistic to say, well, payroll disparity is bad. In baseball, we've managed to have competitive balance, notwithstanding some degree of payroll disparity. And look, the last thing I'll say is, and we hear this from players, it's like, well, if the problem is there are some teams that are choosing not to spend, I mean, that's an owner problem, right? We've made proposals that we think will help fix that, but for the league to say, well, you know what, this is an owner problem, but we're going to fix it by taking things out of your pocket, or taking away your guaranteed contracts, or taking away your freedom and flexibility, that doesn't make sense to players. So, yeah, that's probably a long enough answer.
No, that makes sense. And my follow up to this is because, we're on every day and we hear from fan bases that are like, hey, my team's not spending enough. How do we fix this? Right. And the plan being proposed is, well, we do a cap, then there's a floor. And now finally we will force your owners to spend money. So is the holdup here for years just that there are too many people on the other side of what you're fighting for that say, hey, we want to keep limiting the spending and not being told what to do, right? Just like we are in a discussion right now of, hey, MLB wants to limit player salaries and limit what teams can spend. The other side saying, well, I don't want to be forced to spend the money that's coming into me, right? Because if that was going on for a long time, if someone has a team, right, a fan of a team that is doing well that year, they just want to know they're going to push their chips in for investing in the offseason or at the trade deadline. I guess the point I'm getting to here, Bruce, is like, why can't we get there? It seems like MLB is pushing the cap, and like you've mentioned, the players are not going to give in on that. So can we actually make any progress this time around to get those teams to actually spend more money so fans are happier?
The problem with the floor, and I may have said this before, but the union, we're not against a floor. The problem is what it comes with, and the league has made very clear for decades, and again, recently, that in their view, a floor does not come without a cap. In fact, they've gone further and said to us, every dollar in a floor would have to be paid for somewhere else. So their proposals are at best just moving money around. Well, they're actually reducing all the players' money and then just moving money around. In our view, that doesn't do it. And yes, they want that system, not because they're concerned about competition. They want it because it's going to hold down their labor costs and increase their profits and their franchise values. So again, the problem with the floor is from their standpoint, well, in terms of what they propose, is what it comes with. It comes with just taking money from teams that want to spend it and giving it to other teams. It doesn't really solve anything for us. It's actually damaging to players, and we think to the game. Another thing is, and this may be getting more technical capology. A lot of people focus on the floor they proposed and the cap they proposed on a team level, but at the end of the day, that's less important than the overall amount, because they proposed an escrow system. Last year the NBA players had to give back to the owners $500 million of their supposedly guaranteed contracts because the revenues didn't meet projections. So in what the league has proposed, those numbers, I'm not going to say they're meaningless, but at the end of the day, that's not even a real floor, because players could be required to give back some of that money under the escrow system that they've proposed. Now, again, we've made proposals. In our last round of proposals, we proposed, you could call it a kind of soft floor, but it's really just a parallel to what they have with the luxury tax. We proposed, again, you're penalizing teams for spending, for trying to put a better team on the field. You should have a penalty for teams that aren't trying to put a better team on the field. So we proposed that. We think it's a good idea. We proposed again, requirements that would affect every team, not just the revenue sharing payees, the lower revenue teams. But we also proposed requirements for teams that get that money to spend, certain amounts of it, or otherwise have to give some of it back. We proposed rewarding the lower revenue teams who actually go out and finish 500 and go out and make the playoffs. Teams like the Brewers, we propose giving them more money as a reward for being competitive. So we made proposals, and we think there are ways to address this. But the league's only proposal to address this issue has been, again, cap everything, take money from one team, give it to another, move money around. Oh, and by the way, turn it into a system where every dollar that a player gets has to come out of the pocket of another player.
All right, last one, Bruce. Talking about competitiveness and parity and those things, when you hear the owners say we're gonna restrict deferred money, no more referred money, we're gonna restrict the lengths of contracts, and we're gonna restrict players getting into professional baseball a year or 2 years later, does that improve the game of baseball that fans are going to watch?
Well, I mean, the last point you raised is easy, right? I mean, their proposal to eliminate high school eligibility and basically have a 20-year age requirement. I mean, it literally prevents the best players from playing. It prevents the fans from seeing the best players. And we can all think of examples, whether it's Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, players who would not have been playing in the major leagues under their proposal. I mean, how can that possibly be good for the game? It's bad for fans, bad for the game, for fans not to be able to see the best players, whoever they are and whatever age they are, at any given time. In terms of limiting deferred comp flexibility, like deferred compensation, they propose to eliminate it completely. We'll respond to that at some point. But I think a common theme is all of their proposals are designed to remove control from players, to basically take control of a player's careers out of their hands, limiting, flexibility in every way they can, whether it's how to structure contracts, whether it's how much you can get paid, whether it's limiting the length of a contract, whether it's effectively limiting the guarantees, whether it's limiting the flexibility to get a deal done by doing some kind of deferral, which every team can do. It's just a common thread throughout all their proposals, which is to, have a control state, where central baseball basically controls everything the players do and everything, they and their agents can do together. We're in favor of, player empowerment, player flexibility. And ultimately, I'll just say, going to your point about what's good for fans, it's interesting that a lot of their proposals to eliminate things like, limit performance bonuses, that's one of their proposals, or limit the length of contracts, or limit, small market teams have used those things to sign and retain a lot of their players. So it literally is tying the hands of clubs, including those small market clubs that want to retain their youngest players. And a lot of them, have been able to do that. Bobby Witt and Julio Ramirez, and, there are many more examples, but the league's proposals would have actually prevented the clubs from retaining those players. So at the end of the day, we don't think any of it is good for the game or good for fans.
Oh, this was super helpful, Bruce. And I'll end on like a fun, light note question here for you. When you're in these conversations, right, because we haven't spoken to you since like the real proposal back and forth is going on, anyone ever crack a joke? Is there anything to just humanize the situation?
I'm not going to say never, but it's not exactly a left riot. We're generally pretty civil. Frankly, our last meeting, without getting into, stuff said across the table, got a little spirited. So I'm not going to say that there's a lot of backslapping and yucking it up going on, but in general, we're very professional and civil with each other, as you might imagine.
Well, I appreciate the time.
If something funny happens, I'll be the first be first to let you know.
Yes, please do. Right. Please jump back on for it and don't be a stranger. This stuff's helpful because, we feel like we're on the outside and want to get as much info as possible. We always invite, MLB to send a rep to talk to us as well. So Bruce, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Say hi to AJ.
Yes, we will. AJ and the Pope. That's Bruce Meyer, leading the Players Association. Hope that was enlightening for people. And as I like to say after these conversations, I will almost say it to like the begging degree. I would please love to hear someone that's in the talks on the league side as well to join us to receive questions from us. And most of these questions are coming from fans too. So I'm just asking all of them. I can literally ask the same rack, right? Take the 10 that we asked Bruce, same rack, and ask for the MLB side. So I always ask for that. I say, please, whether it's Rob Manfred or somebody else, I'm asking publicly. I have asked behind the scenes. AJ has asked behind the scenes as well. We are completely independent, 0% ownership by anybody on any side, right? It is an independent platform. And we just want to ask questions and find this stuff out as CBA proposals go back and forth. So again, I will say it one more time. Please, someone on the other side of the argument, come on here, rebut, do your thing. I'm not in the conversations. I'm just asking the questions, and then we let both sides cook. So the statements, when you see the statements that are prepared behind the scenes and all of that, like I don't even read some of them. I do. I have to because of my job, but it's painful. They're so like both sides. When you put out a statement, I've been behind many statements when I've worked at places in the past. Like I want to talk to people. I want to ask questions and say, hey, how do we end blackouts? Like the basics that fans say every freaking day when they're at the ballpark or when they're watching the games. So anyway, let's slap. Well, that'll do it. That's a good day right there. I mean, not a great day for Carlos Mendoza, losing his job and all that is not fun, but that's a good show right there. This is why we're here. Bring the people what they want.
That was good.
Yeah. You had good questions.
Stuff.
I like your questions.
Got to do some homework, man. You ain't doing homework.
Dude,
it's a lot.
It's a lot
to untangle because you think it's this amount when it's actually that amount.
Yes. So, and I want to hear from players at we're only covering this when proposals get whipped out and then we talk ball, but this is going to be a topic in the off season, and some players are probably really in on it and some are not, and they don't want to speak, and that's fine, but just want to hear everyone's take. Kratz hats on the way out.
Team that I think is sneaky underrated, and they have a chance with a little bit of an easier schedule to possibly make a run here.
Fishy fish.
The Marlins of Miami.
Look at you with the nice shirt. I see you representing down there, kid.
Yeah. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you on Monday.